Yeah, and then just like some of the shots that they're like, just sit here and like do some homework, and they're like sitting in behind filming like this. Some, of course, your teammates will catch you, right? And they're like, dude, what is this camera doing in your face? Like, so that was definitely a little strange.
That is Winnipeg Jet forward Morgan Barron, our special guest here on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, talking about a camera crew following him when he was at Cornell. Lots more to come from the Winnipeg Jet forward later on the podcast. In the meantime, he's Tyler Esquivel. I'm Jamie Thomas. Listen.
You like my sweater?
The best part about this now is like every week you're going to be wearing something new, and it's just the last week was very dramatic. This is something else.
Yeah.
What exactly are you wearing right now?
Well, last week I was in my movie.
What are you wearing?
This is the half zip Sherpa pullover that you can get at all JetScare locations and on TrueNorthShop.com. It's super comfortable. It's very fuzzy, as you can tell. Mm-hmm. Great for a
lot of people going like this.
Yeah, I don't really like that.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, but it's super comfy.
Space.
Warm. Good for a nice chilly day.
Like today.
Yeah. Hopefully, cross our fingers. This could be the last one.
Hey,
I'm hoping.
Yeah, that must have been fun spending some extra time in Buffalo.
Yeah, wife.
No offense to
wife
Buffalo.
was thrilled.
Wife
was absolutely thrilled.
There's nothing about the city. It's just that you guys you spent a little extra time in Buffalo.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, we kind of had we knew that there was a storm happening in Winnipeg, and when we got on the airplane and then it just wasn't moving for a few minutes, I kind of thought something was up, and sure enough, back onto the buses we go. And shout out to the team services manager Chris Kraviazek for getting us all sorted.
He must get when that text goes out. He must get a lot of grief coming back the other way.
I can't. Not from me.
No.
He would probably tell you I give him grief. But
yeah. I give him grief all the time.
Well, he doesn't like you very much.
No, he does not.
You guys have this running feud.
Yes.
It's quite entertaining. But that's why you're not on the road anymore.
Because the team services guy has more say than I thought he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was great. Got back into the hotel, literally gave me the exact same room. So, yeah, it was good. I love it. Like, nothing better than getting in a bed that you've just been sleeping in for a
place
minutes.
that you know very well.
Super comfortable. Yeah. Like, I had my artwork up on the walls. It was great.
Someone who has forced us to talk about him again is Josh Morrissey.
Yeah.
We led the show off last week for good reason, because he has certainly elevated his play, was named the third star of the week in the National Hockey League, 8 points in 4 games. It's almost like listen to Dylan DeMello talk today as we tape this podcast on a Tuesday. It's just they're so used to him, being as good as he is.
I mean, he's just been dragging everybody into the fight, and you look at the third periods. He's in on a chunk of the goals. He has a great goal against Buffalo on Sunday night. That
fighting off a defender.
Yeah, just playing with will and determination right now, and you got to love that for the Winnipeg Jets, and Josh has, forced us, like Jamie said, to talk about him again, but he's just been great for the Winnipeg Jets. And I said on this podcast last week that your best players need to start being your best players.
He was that Mark Scheifele.
Here we go.
Yeah, Mark Scheifele's another guy we can talk about too. And before we get to the comments from Rick Bowness and Morgan Barron about Josh Morrissey, I just think about last year where it was his coming out party, and you're wondering what Josh Morrissey could do to top that. And I think last year a lot of the points came early, and then teams started zeroing in on him, and they had to fight through that. But now he's at this time of year where it's harder to score goals. The way he's playing right now is so impressive. So to further elaborate on Josh Morrissey again, here's Rick Bowness and Morgan Barron.
It's pretty unbelievable. Obviously it seemed like he was making plays happen and getting assists on, almost every time he touched the puck lately. But for him to score that big goal tonight, I think there's a stick across his torso and the ref had his hand up. It's, it's not easy to do, but kind of come to expect it from him, to be honest with you.
He's been unreal at both sides of the ice. He plays so many important minutes. He gets the best lines, the power play. He never disappoints you. He always seems to have that ability to rise to the occasion. That's needed, whether it's a really good defensive play or joining a rush and making the big grab like he did tonight. So he's an elite athlete with elite competitive skills.
At this time of year, you need everybody. And before we get to the fourth line, the conversation about the depth of this hockey team, you just want to talk about Josh.
Yeah, one more thing about Josh. The points obviously didn't come as frequently in the start of the year as they did last year. So, we may be looking at him through a different lens. But this is the time of year when the hockey gets harder. And now you're seeing him produce. I mean, he broke a 20 game goal drought.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he wasn't impacting games. And now that we're in the final stretch of the season, 20 games, he's starting to round into form before playoffs. That's what you want to see. You know, it's great to have all the points at the beginning of the year and you're just, you know, racking up stats. But now is when you want to see that, and it's great.
Yeah, 6 multi-point games in his last 7 contests in a challenging time of year as we wait ahead of the trade deadline. Big goal for Morgan Barron on Sunday in Buffalo. Just a massive goal, and I think some credit has to be given to Cole Perfetti too.
Yep.
Cole Perfetti talked to Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press about the challenges of being a healthy scratch. And before we go into about the fourth line, I think, you know, we should address how well Cole Perfetti played on Sunday as well after being a healthy scratch from Raleigh on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, honestly, like, I was shooting for most of the game in the corner. You'd probably have a better vantage point on television of what you saw. But, you know, from my side of things, he looked really good. He didn't look out of place. And I think he's a player that, you know, has a tremendous amount of skill, and him being on that fourth line provides maybe a little bit more options. And I think this is the natural growth process. You know, I just talked about how this is the hardest time of year, and Josh Morrissey's playing well, but he's been in the league for 7 seasons, I think. This is Cole's first foray into this, and I think he'd probably tell you that he's learning every day, just as everybody is in that locker room. So for him to be facing a little bit of adversity right now, I think is going to pay dividends in the long run, and just handle your day. Take each day as it comes, and I think he did that in Buffalo on Sunday.
Also excited for David Gustafsson, who has had some injury issues this year. Played 6 games in the Manitoba Moose. I saw his final game of his rehab stint. It was against Calgary. He played on the line with Axel Jonsson-Fjällby. They were tremendous. So him clearly having that game brought some confidence with him to the National Hockey League. So more comments on the fourth line. Here is Josh Morrissey.
So obviously it's great to get that secondary scoring and scoring up and down the lineup, and certainly as I think I've talked about, and our whole team, big strength of our group this year is our depth and our ability to produce throughout the lineup. So as everyone knows, that gets that much more important down the stretch and into the playoffs, and those guys throughout our lineup have been massive for us in our success so far this year.
Obviously feel like we're at our best when we're able to roll our 4 lines, and we've had tons of different guys kind of come in and out of the lineup over the course of the year, but I think it's just a testament to how deep we are as a group, and different guys being able to get it done.
All right, before we get to the play of the week, let's go to the mailbag. And the question I asked was, if the team is healthy, which we're still skeptical about right now because Gabe Vilardi is not going to play on this Tuesday against the Seattle Kraken, the first game of a home-and-home. He will travel with the team to Seattle and Vancouver, and they'll get more information as we go along here. So information will be revealed to us likely on Friday. And, of course, it is the NHL trade deadline. So I sent that question out. We're going to start with Anna. Anna said her top 6 would look Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers, Perfetti, Monahan, Vilardi. Going down to Erber. 81, 55, 13, 27, 23, and 7. And then last but not least, we have Ehlers, Scheif, Vilardi, Casey, Monahan, and Namestnikov from Joel. So thank you very much for sending in your comments. Clearly I don't want to say controversy right now but there's been a lot of discussion about the usage of Nikolai Ehlers in the top 6 forward group, and in particular with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it definitely is fascinating, but Rick Bowness has shown that he's not afraid to go to that, and
that's okay.
And that's okay. So Nikolai Ehlers is getting top line minutes, but when things aren't going well, he makes the swap, whether it's Vlad Namestnikov or some other
follow. We can go
look, if things aren't going well, then you have to change things up, and it's proven to work in the last few games. So let's just keep riding here. I think, to a man, everybody in that locker room wants to win hockey games, and I'm not saying they can't do it one way or the other, but when adversity strikes or whatever it is, you have to be able to adjust, and I think they're doing a great job of doing that.
Okay, so the play of the week, like shooting for runway, and I know Daniel Moss knows a little bit about this as well, and yourself, and Caleb, Cole, I can go down the list of everybody. It provides unique vantage points. How much do you enjoy having that opportunity to shoot things at a different level, particularly ice level?
Yeah.
But in tight, it must be, it's challenging, but those shots, it must be very rewarding when you get that shot.
I mean, I think I've said this before on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like shooting hockey is difficult because, it's such a fluid game. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of things that happen that you can't predict. So you have to be able to anticipate. So You know, it is hard, but when you get a goal, it's a great feeling. I think I kind of likened it to catching a fish sort of thing. But yeah, it can be difficult, but you know, we're afforded some great spots in arenas right down on the glass. You get to see NHL hockey right up close. So really enjoy that. Some rinks are better than others for vantage points in Buffalo the other day.
Especially the visitors.
At home here, we have pretty good run of the building. We have good spots, but in Buffalo the other day, they assigned me a pane of glass that was about this big. And then the TV camera guy that was to my left, he goes, the season seat holders that are here, and it was an actual seat that was given to me.
Yeah.
And he goes, everybody to my left never seems to show up, so just take that. So I ended up just sliding down and had a whole pane of glass to myself. Those people then showed up for the second and third, so I just went into a different spot. But it was good. But yeah, I got that goal that
we're about to talk about.
Well, yeah,
I'm setting you up.
The big goal. Mark Scheifele scored the 3-2 goal, if I recall. There was a lot.
3-3, I think the power play goal.
No, the Monahan was the 3-3. No, wasn't it?
No. Monahan was a game winner. Remember when he bought into, so there's a lot of goals,
right.
Man. It's hard for you to remember.
You want to know why I got that wrong? So I didn't get the Kyle Connor goal.
The first one.
What the hell was that? I watched that goal again today. The pass Nikolai makes to KC up top was... Oh,
yeah.
He got the puck. No wonder he scored.
And it was a great shot,
Yeah.
too. And Connor had been pretty quiet up until that point, as everybody else had been offensively, but that really got things going. But our play of the week, courtesy of Tyler Esquivel and everyone else that was shooting that day, a great goal from Mark Scheifele on the power play.
Gives it to Connor, poked up by Scheifele, bouncing puck. Jets trying to get it back and stalled. It's put over top of Monahan. Nice read by Morrissey to knock that loose. Josh Morrissey, Mark Scheifele scores! Scheifele ties it on the power play. Brilliance from Morrissey, and it's 3-3.
Hi, I'm Morgan Barron,
Morgan Barron up by shoots. He scores!
and this is the Ground Control Podcast.
Pleased to welcome to the podcast, Winnipeg Jet forward Morgan Barron. Let's start with an easy question first. Your thoughts on your season so far?
Yeah, it's been a good year. Anytime you're fighting for first in your division, first in your conference, and really first in the NHL, I think that's pretty exciting. Like, this is where we want to be this time of year. So, it's been just a lot of fun to be a part of it, and just kind of learn and grow as a group. It's been pretty cool.
How well do you think you guys have handled being in around first place as opposed to how well you handled it last year?
Well, I mean, these last 20 games will probably be the biggest testament to it, right? Like, there's still a lot of hockey left. But I think the biggest thing is I feel like as a team we've certainly talked about it less for whatever that's worth. I think as a group we kind of felt last year sometimes the focus became so much about like chasing first place instead of playing good hockey and just letting the chips fall where they may. So I like the approach we've taken on it. Most days I wake up and I don't really know where we are in the standings. Obviously we're winning a lot of games, so it feels like we should be close to the top, and I'll check in on it periodically. But I like the way we've handled it. I know last year there was like a TV in the room that had all the standings on it, so it was painfully obvious some days when you walked in that you're falling a spot or you're a few points behind X or Y team. So we've got rid of that this year, and we're just kind of going out and trying to win each game on an individual basis, and I think that's been good for us.
I'm going to take you back a little bit now. What was it like growing up in Nova Scotia?
It was awesome. It was great. I still spend my summers there. I think it holds a really special place in my heart. It's much like Winnipeg. I think it's a community that's based around hockey in many ways, and certainly my perspective on the community was always based around hockey. We had the Mooseheads there, and that was a big part of my childhood, always going and watching them growing up. And it seems like all my friends from school also played hockey, and that was pretty cool. It was street hockey every day after, which
for sure
seems to be obsolete in this day and age. Unfortunately, you don't see it quite as much, but those are some of my fondest memories. And obviously a place with a really rich hockey history. I mean, I know people say that's where I think Windsor, Nova Scotia is rumored to be where hockey was born. There's a hockey rink-shaped pond there, so you can go all the way back that far, or even as recently as obviously having Sid and Nate and Brad Marchand and all these guys who are NHL superstars from the area. It's pretty cool.
What's it like? You work out with them in the off season. What's it like skating with them in the off season?
Yeah. It's been a few years we've been able to skate with them, and it's pretty cool. I remember my first few skates with them, probably as nervous as I've ever been on the ice.
Sure.
More so than my first NHL games or anything like that. Like it's those are the guys that, especially them being local, like you grow up idolizing them. So. It's pretty awesome, and it's certainly a good way to push yourself in the off season.
What's Marchand really like?
Awesome guy.
Yeah,
he is. I know that's probably very misconstrued, but just really fantastic. I know you can obviously laugh about some of the shenanigans he does on the ice, but you ask anybody who's played with him or any of his current teammates, I think he's one of those guys that everybody gets along really well with. Obviously, he's not so friendly on the ice and doesn't seem to have many friends on the other teams, but that's the way the game is meant to be played in this day and age. It seems like there's fewer and fewer players who have an actual disliking for the other team, and I'm not even sure that's the case with him necessarily, but he certainly acts like it on the ice, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, he does his role really well. Another person that you work out with quite a bit and skate with is your brother, Justin. So what is the worst injury you have given your brother and vice versa over your time growing up?
I would have got it pretty bad for injuring him since I'm the older brother.
Yeah.
I do have a vivid memory of I don't know how old we were. Maybe I'm 3 years older than him, so I was probably 9 and he was probably 6. And, at that time we had a little backyard rink. That was, frozen a few weeks or months of the year. And my dad always would want us to wear helmets when we were out there, obviously, because, accidents happen, whatever. And sure enough, we were stubborn enough one day to go out without helmets because the parents weren't home. And I just remember, I think he went to take a slap shot, and I was standing behind him, and he clipped me right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of shook it off. I didn't really, notice it too much. And then, 10 minutes go by, and I think I just went to wipe the snot running out of my nose because it was so cold outside, and I noticed a little blood, and then all of a sudden I start looking around and there's just little specks of blood all over the ice. So he obviously clipped me. I know you can still see I have a little scar. I can't grow much of a mustache, so it's visible. There's a little scar there.
Is it more visible when you grow a mustache or try to grow a mustache?
I can't. Well, yeah. I mean, the only time I even try to grow a mustache is in November, and it's a pretty piss poor effort. So if I could someday maybe grow a nice Dylan DeMello mustache, that'd be great. I could hide the scar, but that's the one that sticks out for me. But I'm sure there's been lots of pucks to the shins and things like that, mini stick accidents in the basement. But overall, we've got along pretty well, so we're lucky.
How have you and LB talked about the cut last year in the playoffs at all?
Very little, actually. I think the first time I mentioned it to him, we were just talking before about how he's not really on social media or anything like that. So I think,
which is not a surprise.
No, it very much lines up with the personality and all the power to him. I think it's a great thing. But I think the first time it came up was maybe a week or two into our season, and I think we went to the family lounge, and maybe my girlfriend or his wife or someone was like, "Oh, the cut, you cut him," and he was like, "Oh, really? That was you? That was me?" He had no idea that it was, he hadn't made the connection, which, that's, I obviously couldn't care less.
Yeah, for sure.
He had bigger things on his mind, and it was an accident. It had nobody's fault, certainly not his. So
of course,
other than that, we haven't talked about it too much. I certainly don't hold it against him at all. And he was busy winning the Stanley Cup, so I can forgive him for letting it slip his mind.
I think you can too. Could you believe how much it blew up?
No.
How tough hockey players were. It was everywhere.
Yeah, no.
The United States does not cover hockey at its finest most time, but you were the poster boy for how tough hockey players were for a very long time.
Yeah. It seemed a little funny to me, honestly, and it still does a little bit because I still, at the time, very much so, and I still do view it as something that just happened to me. And I was sitting there and they stitched me up and they're like, "Do you want to go back in?" And especially at that time, I was pumped full of the freezing gel or whatever it was. So I couldn't feel anything. So I was like, yeah, of course. It's my first Stanley Cup playoff game. I don't want to sit here and watch. So, Yeah, it was a little wild. It looked like Frankenstein there for a bit. I know the next day, I think Brownie, who runs all of our, like for the players, managed all our media requests, said ESPN or something wanted me to go on to do a quick bit on Zoom. And at that time especially, like my head was blown out to here, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not going on national TV when I look like this.
Because that'll live forever.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just felt like it was a little, even for me to go, like, I think it's great if, ESPN's asking you to go on, but I certainly hope it's for a reason other than just I'm getting gashed and look like Frankenstein. So, it was definitely strange. And even still, or once in a while, I get someone who will mention it to me or someone around the community. So, I think it certainly ended up being a good thing for me in some ways. Like you said, I think it grew the game a little bit, but it can get me any credibility. I guess I'll take it.
For sure. And let's talk about school. How hard was it to get into Cornell? Because that's not easy. I mean, it's not easy to come back from 75 stitches either, but getting into Cornell's nothing to shake a stick at.
They do a good job. The financial advisor or educational advisors, I guess, kind of guiding you through. And I was lucky enough to go to St. Andrews College, which is where I played prep school hockey for 2 years before heading down to school in the States. And they did a great job prepping me. It kind of all worked out. Like I certainly was never a kid who loved school. I'm sure it'd be hard pressed to probably find someone who does, but I managed my way through it, and I felt like if I applied myself at least for the last few years of high school, I'd be able to figure it out and keep my options open. And then when Cornell came knocking, I think it was easy to convince myself to study for all the ACT and stuff once I saw the hockey side of it, because that was what I really wanted to go for.
Like how excited were your parents when that opportunity arose?
Well,
I know the financial.
I was just about to say,
they
couldn't. For those who don't know, Ivy League schools can't offer scholarships the way other schools can, unfortunately. So,
not athletic, right?
Or not athletic. Well,
they can do academic. I'm just trying to remember.
I don't think so.
No, I think you're right.
And there might be like.
Well, you would know. You went through the process.
Well, I certainly didn't get an academic scholarship, but they base it on like your parents' income and whatever, and give you a number that they think you can afford to pay. So, really grateful to have a family that supported me the way they did and allowed me to do that. And there was obviously schools that were offering scholarships, but like you said, my parents really liked the idea of getting a good education, and the coaching staff that recruited me there. It was the coach's name is Ben Sire, who did a lot of the heavy lifting on my case, and obviously I fell in love with his personality. My parents loved the way he was recruiting. He flew out to Sydney, Nova Scotia to meet with us, which is not an easy place to fly to if you know anything about it, and met with my family, and just all those little things went a long way for them. So in the end, it was definitely a small price to pay for the experiences I got there.
You played hockey, soccer, and had a 90% average in high school. That's pretty impressive.
Right, I wouldn't have even known that. Yeah.
So,
the guys wouldn't believe the soccer part because I'm not very good at sewer ball. I've lost my touch.
Well, there's a little bit of difference there, is there not?
Yeah, there's definitely is. But I tell you what, that senior year of soccer, I've never been on like a hot streak of scoring goals in any sport like that. Like that was the best I'm obviously better at hockey than I am at soccer, but in terms of like getting the bounces or over exceeding my capabilities, that was the best season I've ever had at anything. So hopefully I can replicate that and at this level at some point.
My gosh. Like, did you ever question, like, maybe I should do soccer? Or
No. I'm probably pumping my tires a little bit too much here now. We gotta back
video
off.
on YouTube and stuff.
It was just like, it was like every single bounce I could have gotten I seemed to get it. And I was scoring goals. And mind you, there was like real soccer players, like club soccer players who were trying to play CIS soccer and eventually did. So they were leaps and bounds ahead of where I was, but it seemed like I had a good year for my own standards.
Low-hanging fruit, obviously, Andy Bernard from The Office, was that comes with Cornell. Could you believe the recognition that the school got out of that? And
I don't know the story behind it, like if that was...
I know the school had its own. It didn't need Andy Bernard in The Office, a sitcom, but...
That's like... And he's not even an alumni of the school, but he's like a quasi-alumni, I guess you would call it. And he's probably the most famous famous alumni there is there. I hate to say it, but like in modern pop culture, the most famous alumni, someone who didn't even go there. So it's pretty funny. I loved the show, and I think the first time I watched The Office, I didn't even really get it, right? Like,
yeah.
In Canada, you don't really know the schools quite as well, and then for it to work out like that. But yeah, no, he's funny.
A couple of true or false questions for you. True or false? You love math.
False.
True or false? The Rangers once sent a camera crew to follow you around at Cornell.
That's true. I got a lot of grief for that. That was very strange, but yes, they did.
So what was that like when they sent the gang, the crew?
You know what? They asked me if it was okay, and my first inclination was like no. But then, you know, I talked to my parents about it, and they were kind of like, "Oh, it'd be something cool to have, and we'll have it forever, and even if it's on YouTube, whatever." So yeah, they came up and followed me around, and I cleaned up my my bedroom, and you know, it's college living too, right? So I was even I can't even remember if they made it into the house or not, because there was a part of me that's like, this house is a mess. Like, there was probably a party there on the weekend, and there's beer cans everywhere. Like, I was like, we cannot have these cameras in the house. Yeah, and then just like some of the shots that they're like, just sit here and like do some homework, and they're like sitting in behind filming like this. And of course, your teammates will catch you, right? And they're like, dude, what is this camera doing in your face? Like, so that was definitely a little strange. But I don't know, it's a funny video. Like, my buddies will still send me stupid clips from it and stuff sometimes, but I'm sure, like I said, I think my parents appreciated it. They got to see it a little bit, so yeah.
Do you think you get razzed more for that than Pionk does about the
baseball video?
Yeah.
No. Well, now I'm sure guys will probably find the video, but I've kept it under wraps pretty good.
Okay,
Until
sorry
this
about
point,
that.
No,
Sorry about that.
All right. There's worse things in the world. So,
Yeah.
But no, the Pionk baseball video is probably one of the top ones that comes up. So,
well, I'm sorry to break the wall on this one. The wall, this code of silence on it, but appreciate your time and good luck the rest of the season.
Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it.
Great work from you.
So same with you, man. You're the one that sends the lineup every day.
I feel like
I just show up in a nice jacket.
I've got you the nice jacket. You got new clothes every show. I feel like you are the star of this podcast because you're coming in with new clothes. You got a nomination the other day.
I did.
For a podcast. Now, what is the nomination for?
Okay, so I've been nominated for, and I don't mean to laugh here, but the radio.
It's humbling.
It's humbling.
Yes.
The radio/podcast host.
Of the year?
Of the year, I guess,
Wow.
in the Nightlife and Lifestyle Awards, the Winnipeg Nightlife and Lifestyle Awards. Yeah, I've been nominated alongside a lot of very talented people in this city.
Yeah.
So whoever nominated me for that, I have no idea.
It's nice.
How this came to be, but thank you. That's
so
very
now
nice.
that we're here, what do you win? That's what
I don't
wanna
know. Well, we're gonna find out. Okay.
When do we find out, and how can people vote?
So people can go online at I'm reading in their Instagram right now, wnla.ca. It's pretty easy. wnla.ca. There's going to be a thing on the bottom of the screen, right, Daniel? And you can vote once. So it's just
only once.
Only once.
No ballot stuffing.
It's not like the NHL All-Star game.
Yeah.
You can vote for me once.
Toronto Maple Leafs on this
wnla.ca, the radio/podcast host. There's a bunch of other people nominated in different categories.
We don't need to talk about them. You're the only nominee.
Yeah. So honestly, from the bottom of my heart, under this Sherpa sweater,
I was just about inside that Sherpa sweater.
Thanks for nominating
You look
me.
like
That's
you're
super
sweating
cool.
right now. You're
That's
sweating.
super cool. My buddy, I had no idea this happened until a friend of mine. A very old friend of mine messaged me on Twitter of all places, being like, "Congrats on the nomination." And I'm like, and it's like 8:00 in the morning. I'm like, what do you want? And then I followed up, and yeah,
I'm voting for you right now.
Thanks. You haven't done it already.
Well, I just want to make sure. I didn't know the website. While we do that, we appreciate you. We certainly appreciate Daniel Moss, who's going to be cutting this a little bit later. This will come out on Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching / listening. And, of course, many thanks to Morgan Barron, our guest, here on Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. We'll see you next week.